LMAO. You don't think Xbox will trade places with PS in a heartbeat? You're off, homie. Xbox has lost. They're desperate and trying whatever they can to stay relevant. You sound like you just came off fresh some PlayStation Fanboys podcast where they said a bunch of stuff and had no single data point or no single data resource to even prove what you just said. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Let's check this comment against the reality of the gaming industry, because when you think about what is going on right now and you listen to someone say something like that, you might be, in a sense, convinced to think that that is what the case is. In fact, just recently, we heard about Xbox Direct coming this month, where they're going to be bringing to you information about their games. PlayStation has nothing in that regard. Why would Xbox want to trade places with PlayStation? Xbox has the most talked about subscription service in the industry, and one that basically no one can argue its value. Yet, so-called analyst Chris Dring basically threw out a number yesterday. An analyst threw out 80% as the potential loss of sales for any game on Game Pass. And when he was asked, he said that's a number that's being thrown around for Xbox. So when you listen to these people, you'll probably be deceived as to what's going on if you don't pay attention to what is happening within the industry itself. I'm going to refer you guys back to 2023. Early 2023, Insomniac got hacked. It was a terrible situation. A ransomware group held Sony at, and all the data then to ransom and said to pay them about $2 million. I think it was in Bitcoin. Sony did not pay, so they dumped all the data. They dumped the Marvel Spider-Man 2 PC build, which has been compiled by, pirates out in Brazil. They also dumped a working version of the Wolverine game, as well as even the entire script. Everything about the game was basically put out there. I'm sure the developers are more than likely going to have to go ahead and tweak some things, because as I've already seen pretty much the plot and where it goes and where it ends. They also dropped a set of documents that showed PlayStation showing and talking about the industry shift and threats. Now, this comment that was made here on the channel, I think you need to go ahead and pay attention to this, because if you think that Xbox will want to trade places with PlayStation, I'm surprised that you have not looked at this, and you might conclude otherwise. In this was right around the time that Activision Blizzard was going to be acquired by Xbox. PlayStation thought that they were going to go exclusive with Activision games, but that was not the case. But even in their analysis, when they talked about it, they said the Call of Duty threat in 2027, Microsoft acquisition of Activision for $69 billion could disrupt and threaten console gaming and game subscription markets. It already has started to do that severely. Consoles shift from PlayStation to Xbox with timing and in-game differential as the weapons. This is the very first thing that they were worried about. They were worried about the people that were going to basically go ahead and leave the PlayStation platform to play Call of Duty. Why? Because majority of PlayStation players are consistently playing Call of Duty. In fact, a report came out that over 1 million PlayStation users spent 100 of all their gaming time on Call of Duty. And majority of the Call of Duty players on the console side are on PlayStation, which was very beneficial for PlayStation for many, many years. Now, Xbox is basically sitting on exactly that particular, benefit, and PlayStation was not necessarily comfortable with it. So when they were analyzing to see what was going on, they said, subscription, Microsoft's comprehensive ecosystem coupled with exclusivity creates greater dominance. I've made this video over and over again, and I'm going to continue making it, because you see sometimes so-called PlayStation fans will come out here and say things like Xbox is lost when they're dominating, when their own competitor said that if they couple that with exclusivity creates greater dominance, it means that their competitor already acknowledges the dominance that they have in their comprehensive ecosystem. They were only saying that once they added Activision Blizzard's exclusivity, which did not happen, it was going to further increase the dominance that Microsoft's Xbox had over Sony's PlayStation. This is a material fact. We got this from data leaks out there. I've seen a lot of people also try to dismiss this document, saying, well, how can we be sure that this is something that, how can you be sure that PC players have not been playing Spider-Man and they have videos of it on YouTube, even telling you and showing you different graphics cards, like, well, you should do these settings and blah, blah, blah. That's the problem with this leak. It was so massive, and the press for the most part, downplayed this stuff. We saw people within the industry that was supposed to be giving what I thought were serious opinions about the conversation start to lecture us on how we should not talk about such leaks. What a mess the gaming industry put itself in that time. They showed their hand that they are not to be trusted. Some maintained enough integrity to at least mention some things like Jess Corden over here. Yes, he gets some things wrong, but this is a material fact that anybody could get their hands on. And I've seen so-called hyper PlayStation fanboys come from all corners trying to, deny this document. Even PlayStation themselves did not come out to deny anything. They just kept quiet. Yet you guys are the ones running interference for what journalists should be reporting. The next part is Sony impact, massive threat to PlayStation Plus. The day and date threat. Post-acquisition, Microsoft will put Activision games on Game Pass day and date. Oh, heck yeah, you bet that was a post-acquisition threat because already it's been done. You see, one thing about the conversation in console is, like I said, you look like you just showed up fresh out of a PlayStation Fanboy podcast and you just blurted out those things. And the mistake you made was you blurted out on the Video Game Fight School channel. Why I don't podcast like the others is because there really isn't much to say, guys. Like the data, everything is already out here for us and it's already been said. So we can basically showcase everything within a 10, 12-minute video to pretty much debunk the claims that they're making over hours in these podcasts that they're over there touting for PlayStation. It's literally 10 minutes away for the truth to pretty much be well known. They even talk about how many subs by how many subscription cost, metrics would they have to basically use to kind of make up for the potential loss, and even pointing out to a $1.5 billion of annual revenue threat, which was a gap for them to fill. They talked about leapfrogging. Activision provides incredible strategic value across live service games, scale in mobile, and PC storefront. Microsoft can supply multi-game subscription. They can do it on the cloud. They can do it. In fact, they didn't even point out the full scale here. They said subscription 50%, console games 50%, PC 60%. They never even pointed out cloud, which is now one of Microsoft's strong points. Just like Nvidia's GeForce Now, Xbox is now building and expanding its cloud architecture to be able to make it a juggernaut. Sony's pillars are already dated and behind the competition. Sony themselves concluded this. Why would Xbox want to trade places with them? You have to be careful what you say, because at the end of the day, it could really, really, point out a deficiency in you understanding the conversation or understanding even what the reality is. No one is saying that Xbox has finally hit it really large or whatever. I mean, they have, but at least from a conservative perspective, in terms of how, we evaluate things, it's quite obvious that PlayStation would like for its pillars to look like this. So actually, if anybody wants to trade positions with anybody, I'd argue that perhaps from what we're seeing in this document, PlayStation would like to be in this position to some extent. Your argument is self-obliterated because it lacked any evidence. It was void of any reasoning in reality. It came from the fanboy belly. And so that's why it sounds like that. Let's keep going. They also talk about an elusive perfect game subscription. Premium content, expectation of free, best-in-class games creates unsustainable model. Monthly and incremental subs won't cover investment. Unified mobile PC console experience doesn't exist. These are their deficiencies, by the way. Form factor and computer power are too diverse. They're talking about how they cannot meet up these things. They don't have a unified PC console experience, but PlayStation is going all the way out there. Xbox is going all the way out there to basically turn all these different devices into Xboxes. The thing that I've seen PlayStation fans laughing at. I saw another comment. I'm going to make a video about it. And then they said Sony Impact Premium sales model is the approach. This was before they sold you a $700 mid-gen refresh that barely does nothing. That barely does anything. They literally sold you a mid-gen refresh that does almost nothing. Like if you sell your in the PC side, if you sell your your current NVIDIA graphics card right now, and you upgrade, depending on where you're coming from, you're going to see benefit. Usually, you have options that will give you whatever benefit you're looking for. In the case of PlayStation 5 Pro, when we looked at it, after taking a very close look at it, that $280 premium that they basically put on top of it by removing the disk drive and all, No one can find the value proposition even serious. It basically was, for the most part, a cash grab. Then they sold a $1,000 version of the 30-year anniversary edition of this particular console, and people were eating this stuff up. Premium sales model is the approach for them to be able to catch up, and they know that, you know, their hardcore fans are gonna eat it up. Why? Because they're hardcore fans. They already got you locked in. They even dared you. Remember in that interview in December that you were talking about to the shareholders, and PlayStation said, we're not worried about PC because, you know, we know that our hardcore PlayStation fans are going to PlayStation fan their way through everything that we serve them. Wake up. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.